let's have some content to look at. We have here a article, Game Design Behind the Scenes. Wait, no, it's just Behind the Scenes of Game Universes. Handmade versus Algorithmic War. Either way, guys, I'm gonna read it, have some reaction to it. If you have an opinion in the comments, please chat, I suppose, but later in the comments, because this is probably gonna be on YouTube. Say hello to YouTube. We are gonna have us stellar opinions on it, and I'm curious to hear your opinions as well. So feel free to supply it, guys. Let's see what we can do here. Behind the scenes of game universes. Handmade versus algorithmic worlds. Probably means procedurally generated worlds. Just as like a side note, usually you would say procedurally generated worlds. Algorithmic is correct, it's technically correct, but it's not really good association there. We don't really remember it as algorithmic worlds. Either way, let's have a look at what's happening here. Modular City. Do I know who wrote it first? Katia Gulieva. So let's give a proper credit here. I'm gonna share it in the chat so you all have access to it. Important to know. And now let's have a look. Imagine two artists, one who lets their brush dance freely across the canvas, and another one who carefully places every stroke with precision. That's a bit like the difference between procedural and modular environments in games. Let's explore. Alright, so we have a procedural environment example. I would love to see an artist who is gonna manually place every brush, every single piece of grass here. That artist will be very soon out of work, because let me tell you, that's a lot of work. You see, I would say one thing to keep in mind, you have very, very rarely do you see game artists today who doesn't use some sort of a procedural generation. Like, sure, you can place a tree in the world, but why if you have a foliage tool that's just so much faster? All of this was made with a foliage tool. Guess what? You can just go down here, get a foliage, brush it up. Wait, I have to actually brush it up. Let me just select some assets, enable it, and now you just paint it. So what do you think? Is this procedural or is this hand-painted? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of in between. I would argue it's closer to procedural than to hand-painted, but I can see the opposite argument as well. Either way, if you would consider yourself rather a hand-painting artist rather than procedural, you are gonna have to use some sort of a procedural systems to help you work. Otherwise, you're gonna get kicked out, because someone who is actually using these tools, even if he's hand-painting, but using them to speed up his workflow, is just gonna get the job done 100 times faster. So guess what? He's gonna get the job. Okay. We can continue. Picture a world that crafts itself. A spontaneous creation, almost like nature. That's a procedural environment for you. Here, the game uses algorithms to generate landscapes, dungeons, and cities, making each player's experience unique. I'm gonna just add here one note, one thing to really realize. I have written few fairly advanced, I suppose, procedural generated worlds. Procedurally generated just tracks, procedurally generated the whole forests and dungeons, especially dungeons, but a lot of just a lot of outdoor areas as well. It's tough. Let me tell you, even if you kind of understand the programming really, really well, and you understand the programming and math behind it, to make it look fun, and not to make it look good and make it fun, it's really, really difficult to make procedural world feel fun. If you manage to do that, you are gonna get a insane reward for it, because you make an environment that's good, and that can be endlessly repeatable. But it's very, very difficult to kind of find that balance. From what I understand, and in my experience, vast majority of these studios, companies who make some sort of a creative experience, whether it's a game or anything else that features procedural generation, are gonna use both. Rarely do you see just purely procedural generation. You're gonna see some sort of presets that together can be put together into procedurally generated world. Enter the Gungeon, great example. They have pretty much preset sets of buildings or sets of layouts and plans, and then the AI is gonna, well, not AI, I suppose it's a form of AI, but the algorithm is gonna randomize it and create a world out of it that's gonna be presented to the player. Very rarely, there are cases. I think Terraria is actually a really good example of that, where the map is pretty much procedurally generated right above in front of you. I suppose No Man's Sky would be also a similar example, but you have there a bunch of parameters that are being tweaked, so it kind of depends how you look at it. But it tends to be fairly rare to see pure procedural generation. Coming kind of back into that point of having here assets or some sort of tools that are being used to generate these worlds, and those are tweaked by the artist, That's usually the process that tends to end up in the game, at least most commonly. Again, depends. There are examples of pure procedural generation as well, but to get that right, to make a level that's actually fun to play, that's tough. That's really, really difficult to do. All right, let's continue. Here, because I think we kind of said that there's nothing much to the world. So, okay, let's see. Here we have. Let's continue from here. However, this randomness can sometimes lead to a sense of repetition or lack of detailed storytelling. Yeah, it's kind of the point, I suppose, that you are making a world that no one has seen before, so you can't really put there a detailed storytelling. Yes, it depends how you look at it. The worlds might feel vast and infinite, but they can lack the personal touch of story well told. I'm not sure if I want personal touch in my stories, to be fair, but that is it's a somewhat fair point. Again, it comes back to the point I said before. To make the fully procedurally generated world work, to make it as fun, or at least like 80-90% as fun as handcrafted one, it's possible, but very, very difficult. You still need some sort of a presets that are gonna be put there and created. So it's hard to say what do you consider purely procedurally generated even. Yeah, well, we'll see. An interesting aspect of procedural generation is its efficiency in creating vast worlds. For instance, creating a complex, expansive environment can be surprisingly quick. As an example, the image above showcasing a procedurally generated landscape was created in less than 8 minutes. This speed of creation serves as a clear demonstration of the power and efficiency of procedural algorithms in game design. Game development, not much of a game design to be fair. Does not necessarily have to do anything with procedural algorithms, offering a blend of endless exploration and rapid development. The catch, though, is while these worlds promise infinite exploration, they sometimes miss the narrative depth and can feel repetitive after a while. That's pretty much the same point that we have seen here before. Because it's kind of fun to see article about it, but the whole point is pretty much the same. Like making a procedural world that's really fun and that has that feels real and doesn't feel empty is really difficult. Making the algorithm for that is really, really difficult, and the only strategy that pretty much everyone has picked when it comes to actual studios and someone actually creating a experience is to simply make a bunch of presets, make parameters that are tweakable, and just use it to speed up the workflow of artists. Very similar as we see now with AI. That's how it's being used mostly, right? We are using AI to let other creators work faster. We are having an AI to make concept artists make the work much faster. Of course, it's not going to be as good if concept artists painted it from the start, but it's also 1,000 times faster. So that is some pretty good trade-off as well. And it's good to use it as a base. But let's not get into AI too much now. But I suppose this sort of a conversation is going to be more relevant than ever now with AI tools being more and more used in game dev. I don't know what does procedural here means exactly, because I'm kind of missing here to clarify what does procedural mean. Does procedural mean that you press a button and it does everything, or does it mean kind of like a landscape or a bunch of parameters tweaked and it's going to handle that? So it's a bit difficult to say what exactly it means here. Alright, now let's talk about modular environments. Imagine a world built like a detailed model kit. Each piece or module is crafted and placed with precision to build a cohesive, richly detailed world. This method allows game designers to weave narrative elements into the environment, creating immersive and engaging experiences. But perfection has its price. These detailed worlds take a lot of time to create and can limit how expensive a game world can be. Very true. You will have to choose one. It's not like you are choosing one or the other, right? Why can't you just generate the world or somewhat generate the world and then add some sort of a design element, some storytelling elements, adjust it? There's a lot of things you can do. Design practice. Let's see, guys. We're gonna practice. Here is a fun exercise for you. Pick a game you love and try to figure out if it's built using procedural or modular approach. Look at the landscapes, check for consistency in the environment. If it's well done, you will not be able to tell. Stupid exercise. And see how the world responds to your actions. What do you mean? How does that matter? Write down your observations and reflect on how these methods shape your experience in the game. It's a fantastic way to delve deeper into the art of game design. That does not necessarily have anything to do with game design. And hey, why not share your findings in the comments? Blah, blah, blah. Did anyone share their findings? Oops. Okay, not much to comment on it, honestly. It was fairly short. But to kind of summarize it, procedural tools are going to be more and more useful. And ideal way how to use them is together with other tools that you have accessible to. So you are unlikely to paint 3 by 3, leaf by leaf, but you are way more likely to actually tweak a bunch of parameters and generate just as a forest. It just speeds up the workflow that much, and the difference in quality is not that much. And the difference in time spent is insanely different. So, yep, that would be the conclusion for this one. What do you think, guys? Let me know in the chat, and the rest of you guys who watch on YouTube, let me know in comments. What do you think? Procedural versus handcrafted?